Good evening. Hi there, interwebs. Tonight it's Movie Gold. Thanks to everybody who joined us on Tuesday night for Cartoonists Gold. Tonight this is going to be a fun show. I'm kind of hyped already for this, got to say. We've got a guest who has been on, his career just spans so many movies, and lots of the movies that we talk about on these shows, like Wullie and Startle the movies, for instance, or lots of canon movies, ninja movies, everything. Chuck Norris, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's worked with everybody, just about. And I'm not going to waste time just blabbering on because I'm so excited to talk to him. So I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to say, if you enjoyed that trailer, the link down below will take you to my campaign sign-up page. You can sign up for the full campaign. You're going to get a fantastic anthology of horror comics that I created and edited and put together. But enough of that. Don't do that just now. Do that after the show. There's also a link down there to an Amazon page that'll get you this book. It's a cracker. And we're going to talk about it in a wee minute. But without further ado, because you'll probably fall asleep if I keep blabbing on because it's so boring having just to listen to me blabbing on, I'm going to bring in the guest. It's Mr. Steven Lambert.
What do you say, Wullie? Hello, everybody out there. It's good to be with you on this beautiful day. Wullie, I love that intro music you have on there. It's really upbeat, real nice. Can you play a little of it right now?
Just no, not right now. I can't. No. Actually, I could actually. If I could probably. Are you talking about the last part or the first part?
No, the very beginning.
Oh, right. Good. No, I don't. I got that. That's what it is.
Going.
It does, doesn't it?
Going. I would have did something.
Go
with the beat. Be ready.
Anyway, I should have known. I should have got us on here. We could have done a bit of dancing. That's what the people want.
Good music. It would have been fun to a little bit of this to your music, you know.
Oh yeah. That's a. I think that's.
Dub it in later. Dub it in.
Later on, but let's do it just now. We'll give it a bit of that. I'll put us both together, and I'll get the music, and we'll have a whole video. I can put
a little Wing Chun with that music.
There you go.
Well, I wasn't doing the swim, not the swim or the jerk.
A little bit of that.
You know, that was all kung fu. That was all kung fu dancing.
Kung fu dancing, excellent.
Yes.
That's almost like you've set me up for my first question. But before I do, we've already been joined in the chat by a couple of people, a couple of regulars. Not my monkeys, not my circus. Hello, indeed, and Ash and Jackal's here, and they're both saying hello to you.
Good to see you, my friends.
we've got a few viewers on Facebook and a few on YouTube, and the one person that watches us on Twitch.
Good.
You've got these people that have like thousands of people that watch them on Twitch. I'm quite proud. I'm the one person that has the one person that watches me on Twitch. What
I'll have
can
to
you say?
check it out. I'll have to find your cartoon, the Wullie cartoon.
The Wullie. That's Wullie. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier on because I was just saying to Steve that Wullie is a cartoon character in Scotland. So that's why
What
it's
type of
Wullie with
character?
a U.
What type of
He's a,
character?
he's like a cheeky wee boy who gets into trouble. So it's like a newspaper strip. It's like a full page Sunday newspaper strip, and he wears dungarees and he has spiky hair.
Mischievous?
Sorry,
Mischievous?
mischievous. Yeah, him and his pals will get
Oh,
into
it sounds
trouble,
like
and
my childhood.
well, that it kind of is the kind of childhoods from Glasgow and Dundee and Scotland, kind of working class sort of like
And
kid out
me
in.
is Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah,
City boy.
yeah. I thought that because that's reading. I'll pick this up again before we get going. This is Stephen's book,
It's
which you can
called
get.
Steven Lambert, From the Streets of Brooklyn to the Halls of Hollywood. 748 pages. I take you through my experiences in my childhood back in Brooklyn, New York in the 50s, which was a wonderful time. A lot of fun, a lot of laughs. Coming out here to Los Angeles, California, the experiences I had growing up until I was 13 in Brooklyn, coming out here. When I was 13, it was quite a culture shock. And I
Mhm,
hated it until I found martial arts.
mhm.
And I found martial arts, and that started my life. Didn't know what the direction of my life was, where I was going, but I knew I was happy doing something I enjoyed at a teenage period of time. And then that took me into tournaments, into the movie business, and it started a career. Like I say in the book, just a punk kid from Brooklyn. I mean, I'm like an awful lot of people in the world. Unfortunately, I didn't grow up as the smartest guy. Always got C's, D's, and F's. The only A I ever got was in gym class.
Mm.
And, I was blessed. My direction, I was blessed, I was lucky, and I happened to enjoy what I was doing, and, things just happened. And there I was, and that's why the book is all about the famous people I met,
Yeah,
uh, the funny things, the bad times, the good things. I tell you things about movie stars, stuntmen, actors, producers, directors that nobody would ever tell, and it's all the truth. And some are funny, and some are incredibly scary, and you'd sit
yeah,
back and say, "Holy shit, I can't believe he said that." But
yeah. Or even did that in some cases.
or did that, I got to hang around a lot of movie people, well-known people. Um, they took a liking to me, I took a liking to them, and we had a lot of fun. Some are wonderful people, some are not, as I explain in the book, which you don't normally hear. You don't normally hear the truth of
Mm,
movies and actors. You just hear the sweet apple pie type thing.
yeah,
Um, Here I try to put you in my head and tell you the story as I envisioned it, as I went through it, as I saw it, as it was going on, and I think it works.
yeah,
People really enjoy it, and I was very lucky. And I have a partner in the book, a co-writer, and the first 3 4 weeks, I would give him stuff, and I would tell him, "I want you to write it exactly the way I said it on the tape recorder." And he would say, "Okay," and he would bring me back, and it would completely be changed. And I would discuss it with him. He goes, "Well, no, you can't write it the way you said it. Nobody writes it like that." I go, "Well, that's just the point, you know. I
yeah,
want to write it like it's just happened, and
Yeah.
I want to take them through it like it's just happened. And I'm the one that's speaking about it. So, whatever funny way or unusual way or words I use, you keep it because that's what
Mhm.
makes it interesting. And he didn't get it until about 4 weeks into it. Then he got it.
Yeah,
And
it's very much kind of like I
yes,
would say it's a first person Raymond Chandler sort of you become a first person Raymond Chandler type character in the reader's head as you're reading it, and you begin to read it in a Brooklyn accent in your head. You begin to read it in that voice, so it works. I thoroughly enjoyed
yes,
it.
yes. It's
Yeah,
very
it's
lucky being a first time writer. I was very lucky, but I thought the key was just simply you got to tell the story as it happened, as you see it,
yeah,
as you think it, which nobody ever does.
no, no,
And that was the key.
yeah, excellent. I've got you say martial arts into Hollywood movies as such. But it was Chuck Norris. Was that your first taste of
Well,
doing martial arts in a movie, or was it on TV?
yeah, it just happened to be my last tournament. It was a BKF tournament, Black Karate Association, and I took second in three divisions: weapons, fighting, and hand forms. And at the end of the tournament, I started to go outside the school gym, and I was stopped by a couple of people, and they said, "Hey, we're casting people for a new Chuck Norris movie. We like the way you move. We're doing a sequence in at LAX airport
Mm,
in Los Angeles, California, and we'd like you to be part of it." And it simply went over my head. I didn't think of movies. It's the first thing from my mind. I was studying police science. I was going to be a cop in college. I
right.
had about a year and a half already of it, and they proceeded. Well, you're going to fight Chuck. Throw a few punches, throw a few kicks, and I was interested, but still very confused because I had no idea anything about stunts or movies or action. And then they said, "Well, we'll pay." They said the magic word: "We'll pay you $500 in cash." And my eyes lit up because in those days
Yeah,
when you're a young kid, so to speak, a young adult, $500, you have to work, a month to
yeah.
make $500 in cash, um, to accumulate that, and I'm getting it in one day. And I said, "Sure." And I went it was a night shoot, and I went on the set, and, I mean, they had, like, 50 stunt people there and martial artists. It was a whole big action sequence. Good guys wear black. And,
Mm,
I just stood back and watched, and I was fascinated because I was always an athlete, and I was always, back in Brooklyn, they called me a monkey, I was that type of an athlete, physical, and I was just fascinated, and I went and did my punches and kicks with Chuck, and, he knocked me on the conveyor belt, the baggage belt, and they showed me how to, miss him and, in the kicks and the punches, and they said, "Just animate, pretend like you're really fighting." And, I got by and they liked it, and, I just the taste of it was just gold to me, and I said, "I have to look into this," and I explained how I had no idea how I was gonna get in, but
mm,
it was just, fate and chance,
yeah.
Make a long story short, you can read it's really special, and you show in life how things happen because I had no idea how I was gonna get in. I went home and, I had a girlfriend who worked at a motorcycle place, and, the owner happened to know 2 famous motorcycle stuntmen. And my girlfriend kept on every time they came in to visit the owner, because they had motorcycles and they needed parts. So God bless my old girlfriend, every time they came in, she'd yap, 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 and tell them about me. Well, after 5, 6 months coming in 2, 3 times a week, because it was kind of like a hangout to them too, because they were all
Yeah.
close friends. They finally gave in, and they gave my girlfriend their number to give me, and that's how it started. I had a meeting with them, and I showed them what I could do, and I explained what I did in the book, and they had never seen anything like me because you got to understand, from the 70s down, there was only cowboy fighting and
Mm.
gangster fighting. That's all. No martial art fighting. And
Mm.
all the stuntmen, all the action people before then would laugh at people like me. And I tell the stories in the book. I mean, when
Yeah.
I first got into business, people like me, Rick Avery, James Liu, Albert Leong, Mike Vendrell, Jeff Amata, we were the first batch that got in.
Yeah.
They would laugh at us. All the old time great stunt guys would laugh at us because the style of fighting that we were doing. They all thought it was just too comical.
Yeah.
And then it just caught on, and they had no choice but to hire us because we were the only people at that time that did that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was coming in the right time. So, and I explain it in much more humorous way, and it's just nonchalant, and it shows you how things happen in life. You know,
Yeah. No.
you don't have to be a genius to have a wonderful life.
You need to have some tenacity and drive, though, because there's a lot of that in this book, especially at the
Good
start.
point. Good point.
As you were saying, getting into your career, it's very apparent.
Yes.
I was saying, actually, I'll say hello, Statistical Zero. Hello, Stato. I tried to wrench you, Stato, there. I hope I managed it, because you know what I'm like. Let me know if I did. I do a show, Statistical Zero, and I do a show together as well, looking at movies and comics. Um, I, if you're the kind of person who likes to read on the Kindle, this is a very good book to just attempt doing this in the Kindle. Think of anybody who's worked in Hollywood from about 1979 onwards, and just put their name in and do a search, and you'll probably find them in this book because there's so many people in this book. The names
Yes.
that are in here are
Well,
unreal.
I was lucky enough, the guys that I mentioned just now, including myself, we all came in the 70s, around the
Yeah,
middle 70s. And that's when it all started to boom. And we were the first. When I came in, I was 22 and I looked like 16, 17.
mm,
So I was able to play junior high school, that type, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, Mike Vendrell was 6 foot, a little
mm,
more masculine. So he got the grown up gangster parts.
mm,
I didn't grow into that until later on. But people like, Albert Leong, he got the bad guy parts. People out there
yeah,
must know who I'm talking about, the henchman. Albert
yeah,
Leong, martial artist, actor. Um, he got the bad guy parts. James Liu got the hero bad guy parts. I shouldn't say hero, but the lead character bad guy parts. So
yeah,
Rick Avery, the same thing as me, but he was a smaller, different structured guy. He played,
yeah,
junior high school, high school. He was a Caucasian,
yeah,
like me. The others were Asian. Mike Vendrell was Caucasian, so we were all different, but we
mm,
served everybody's every show, every movie, every TV show that any type of fights, because
yeah,
martial artists are able to adapt to
mm,
any type of style in martial arts if you're good enough and you understand martial arts, plus all other types of styles such as cowboy or gangster or street fighting. Because that's part of your life in martial arts, understanding all those types of fighting. So when I came in, there and now there's thousands, you
mm,
know. When I first came in, there was only 5 or 6, you know.
yeah, Yeah.
uh, in the whole United States, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, I was very blessed. Like I said, very lucky. We were kind of like the beginning of the trend in the United States, and you know, I looked up to the Chinese end of that because that's where I
Mm.
learned it. You know, um, uh, the only uh, the only 2 things I ever saw on TV or in the movies before Bruce Lee came out was Sonny Chiba
Mm.
and Robert Conrad in Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Remember that TV show?
Well, it was never really shown over here, but we saw it years later.
Yes.
For me, when I was, it was somebody who you worked with. For me, it was seeing Kung Fu on TV with David Carradine.
Yes.
Maybe not the greatest martial artist in the world, but
No, but you know, one
it
thing
kind of,
good about that story is he was a good actor.
yeah, and it kind of
Wasn't a
caught the
good guy, he was
zeitgeist.
a good
Yeah,
actor. Yeah,
yeah,
and they
uh,
had a good cameraman,
mm,
and they had a good writer. The
yeah,
writer the you know, the stories were always good enough to watch, make it interesting a little bit. So, you know, his fighting was always overlooked, and I know the fight coordinator and the stunt coordinator of that show, you know, and
yeah,
he used to tell me stories. David, as always, because as I write in the book, David and I became great friends.
yeah.
But
Well,
I didn't work on the kung fu series, but the stunt coordinator would tell me horror stories about
I can
David.
imagine because he played a particularly expensive joke on you at one point as well,
Yes,
didn't he?
yes,
So it's like I can only imagine
yeah,
what he got up to.
yes, and I tell 4 or 5 great stories about, David in the book. You'll piss in your pants, they're so funny. You know, I tell you things that you go, "No, nobody could have done this or nobody could have done that," but they're all true, and we're talking about David now. We became very close friends, at the beginning of my career. David was, a very a very smart man, very funny man, but crazy in a good
Mm,
sense, just
yeah.
simply crazy. And if you read any of the chapters with David Carradine in my book, you know,
Well, yeah, I was thinking particularly where you were directing the sequence or setting the sequence up where he wanted the kind of ramble like walk with the flames behind him.
oh yes,
Uh,
that's an incredible story. You know, I'll
yeah,
tell the audience out there. I'll try to make it as short as possible, but this is one of the juicy stories. Many stories about many actors and things like this. But David, I'm doing a show called Behind Enemy Lines, Canon Film, and David wants a shot like Rambo, where he comes up from the mountains and he's holding his weapon, and a big fireball comes up from behind him. And I said, okay, I'll set you up with that. You know, that was the big craze back then. And David wanted this and that movie. And I found an opportunity and he kept on insisting. So I set up, it took me 2 days to set up this mountain behind him. And for 2 days, I had to have security guards there. I put gasoline, 10,000 gallons of gasoline throughout this mountain. I put 5,000 yards of primacord throughout this mountain, so cost a lot of money to do this during the 2 days. And I set him up, and he's behind a big boulder, and I got the cameras on top of the boulder. So he's got to climb up, and just as he reveals his head, I cue the effects guy to explode the big mountain fireball that's gonna go up behind him. When I see his face, right, I cue on a walkie-talkie, "Blow it, effects guy." So we call action, and the camera's rolling, and I hear him climbing up the hill, and I see the top of his helmet, and I see his face now, his eyes, and I say, "Blow it now," right? And they blow it. Now he's up to his chest, and I realize he's got no shirt on. Now he goes to his waist. He's got no pants on. He's got nothing on but a helmet and boots, and he's carrying his big gun, and he blew the whole scene, and he ruined it, and Menachem Golan wasn't too happy because
I
I
can
had to
imagine.
explain what had happened, and And it happened is because I let a PA, an assistant down there on walkie-talkie when I called action. David Carradine told him not to say anything.
Mm.
And he was a, God bless him, he was a inexperienced foreigner, a Filipino, and he was afraid of the star. So he just kept his mouth
Yeah,
shut
you
and he
kind of
let it
would.
happen.
You would be.
So, and the way I write it, it's just so funny. And I'm there and I'm on fire. I cut cameras. He ruined, $100,000 shot, and I have to explain it. I know I'm going to get a call from Los Angeles, California, Canon Films to Menachem Golan in the evening, right? And my director doesn't know what happened yet. I'm directing the second unit, right? Action unit, right? So he's up there laughing his ass off, and I'm just looking at him fuming. And I go, "It's not funny, David. It's not funny," you know. And he's laughing, and I have to explain it that night. And thank God I was loved at Canon Films, and Menachem loved me because of my past history, my work,
Mhm.
and he understood what had happened and how actors can be, and he understood David because as I write in the book, that's not the only thing that happened with David. On that show, many things happened with David, many funny things, like the
Yeah,
pool. But go on. You'll
yeah,
have to
no,
buy
yeah.
the book to
You'll
read
have
it.
to buy the book, guys, if you want to. All the stories of it with David.
Yeah,
But yeah, because in some cases like that, you get this kind of different kind of uh, idea of what a person's like because you're getting to see how they kind of
yeah.
obviously
Like
just
I
do it.
said, he was fun to hang around with
Yeah.
because we became really good friends. I spent a lot of time over the years with him, even when we weren't doing movies together. We weren't
Mm.
working professionally together. We would meet at a lot of different places, but he was fun. Um, he was smart, but he was one crazy guy. One
Yeah.
crazy guy.
Yeah. You've worked with a few crazy
Yes.
guys, yeah.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Canon there, so that's perfect to just lead us into your work at Canon because your first job at Canon is in one of our favourite movies here on this channel. I believe that the first work was on this, and that was Revenge of the Ninja.
Yes.
Uh, so, how did you get involved with Canon? And you're one of the people then that's kind of really instigated and created the the ninja genre, at least from a Western perspective, because these were the only good ninja movies that were getting made in the West at that time.
Well, I had a wonderful team, but to begin with, I didn't know of Canon existence. I didn't know anything about Menachem. I mentioned one of the fellows I mentioned a couple of minutes back, Mike Vindrell. We were best friends. Great martial artist he was. He's passed away now a few years back, but a wonderful martial artist. Great friends with Brendan Lee. He's the one that hooked me and Brendan up, as I explain in the book. But he was doing Revenge of the Ninja. And then he had called me and said, "Steve, I got this movie that I don't really want to do because I just landed this TV show called Buck Rogers from the 21st century with Gil Gerard." And he said, and we all would agree, even if I was in his situation, I would have done the same thing. He
Mm.
goes, "I want to take the TV show because a movie only goes for 3 months, this kind of movie. A TV show can go for 12 years.
Yeah,
So you have a, wonderful lifespan where you don't have to go looking and hunting for work if you're
yep,
working consistently on a TV show, whether it goes 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 12 years. I think that show went for about 6 years. So he really benefited. So he said, "I want to bring you in and introduce you to the director and the producer, production manager, Sam Furstenberg and David Womark." And I said, "Okay, fine." So I went up there and we had a meeting without Mike Vindrell because he called them up and explained the situation. I'm taking a TV show. take my word for it. Hire this guy. So I went up and had a meeting with both of them, and the conversation just gelled. The ideas, um, um, we talked about family, and we kind of had, in some ways, same history. So I really lucked out in a lot of ways. And they said, okay, we'll get you the script. Now, 2 or 3 days later, they called me up and they asked me to come back to Canon, and they said, we want you to pick up the script, and the producer of the show, Menachem Golan, and the owner of the company wants to meet you. You know, and I had no idea who he was, but of course I said, okay. That never phases me. I enjoy a good conversation, and I want to meet the power people because you're going to probably see them, quite a bit on the show. So you want to understand how to deal with them. You know,
Yep.
A lot of people don't understand that stunt coordinators not only handle action, but they're in a lot of ways a psychiatrist, because there's 150 different departments, heads of departments on a movie, and you have to learn how to deal with each one of them. You have to understand their personality and how they work.
Mm.
So there's a lot more than hitting the ground and developing action. But
Yeah.
so I went in, picked up the script, and while I was sitting there waiting for Menachem to call me in, I noticed blank pages. A lot of blank pages, and I explained this in the book. And I kind of figured, well, they must have gave me a incomplete script by accident, But I had to go to another section of the building to go back and see Sam Furstenberg and David Womark, and so I waited until I met Menachem. Well, when those doors opened, secretary told me to go in, and he's sitting there with a big cigar in a big seat, and we had a wonderful conversation. And this is, I bring up a lot of times where they made two movies about Menachem Golan, right?
Mm.
Electric Boogaloo, and I forgot the other name of it. And I thought they were terrible because they never went to anybody who really had communication and had a good time with Menachem and really understood him. They always talked to people that wanted to say one thing about this person, an idea that everybody has, but
Mm.
there was more to Menachem than those movies showed. You
Yeah.
know, I try to explain that in the book. To me, he was a big teddy bear. He roared. He got mad at everybody. When he spoke, it was like on an intercom. But he never had that intercom. And people would shake in their boots. But whenever he saw me, or whatever he dealt with me, you know, it, it uh, it would be totally different. There
Yeah.
was a there was a respect there, and a communication, and a little fun with the conversation. In other words, from that first moment, he met me. The minute I walked into that room, he said, Steve, Sam Furstenberg and David Womark told me you crazy man, right? And from then on there, that's every time he saw me, he called me crazy man. When he
Yeah.
introduced me to somebody, the first thing that can't come out of his mouth, crazy man, come here. And he was, Steve, this is, so and so, so and so. But he would, whenever I had a conversation, whenever he came on the set, people would try to hide, people would shake in their boots, you know, and he would see that and even push more. But you know, in other words, if he was having a conversation with you, right, and he was because most of the time he would yell at everybody, right, and he would yell at you, right. I was there, and I go, Jesus, Menachem, calm down because you'll have a heart attack. And he'd look at me, see who it was, and then just turn back and continue and ignore me. I mean,
carry on,
you know,
carry on yelling.
yeah, yeah. He saw who he was dealing with. He respected me. You know, he listened to me. And I tell a lot of great stories about him. You know, I tell some great stories about his daughter and I
Mm.
on Revenge of the Ninja, Naomi. You know,
Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff in here on the canon. Like you said, you did 6 films with canon, which obviously you got along with them, or that would
six,
never have been
seven,
the
8 films
case.
with Canon. The only reason why I left was because I got tired. I wanted to move on, and I got a chance to do something different, which
Mm.
was Remo Williams in Adventure Begins with Fred
Yeah,
Ward and Joel Grey. That came up, and as I explained in the book, because it's my life story, I actually tell you what happens day to day, month to month, year to year
yeah.
throughout my life because it was all consistent.
Hmm.
You know, I worked in the movie business 48 straight years nonstop
Yeah.
before I retired. Nonstop, you know. So it was a blessing. And I have some wonderful stories in there, like I had mentioned. So,
You
you know,
mentioned,
the book is you know, 21, what happened at 21, what happened when I was a kid,
yeah.
to, you know, 6 to 13, 13 to 21, 21 to 40, 40 to 65 when I
It,
retired.
it, it moves like Goodfellas. It moves like a Scorsese film. It just rockets from chapter to chapter.
You
Uh,
know, let me say, the hardest thing is to get a publisher. And if
mhm.
anybody out there have read my book and they know a publisher, please call me. And, you know, we'll talk about business, bring you into into the affair,
Mm.
as far as a partnership with my book, because it's very difficult to find a writer. They want to read 2 pages, they want to read 5 pages, they want to read 10 pages. But with my book, you got to read the whole thing to understand
Mm.
it. And so far, it's #1 on Amazon. It's doing
Yeah.
wonderful, but I want to get it out to the world. I want to get it to libraries. I want to get it to airports. I want to get it to all over the place, but can't get it in there until I find a publisher that'll read it. So anybody out there, right? You want a part of this book, call me 818-310-5756 if you have a publisher.
There you go, guys. If you have a publisher, if you
Yeah.
know, and me too. If you, no, I'm done with publishers. I'm self-publishing everything.
You know what I'm talking about,
I
you
know what you
know.
mean. I know what you
You
mean. Yeah,
have a good
my
thing and you can't get a publisher to read it unless you're a big movie star or a
yeah. It's
politician.
the publishing world is a strange niche in its
Yes.
own. Yeah, it really is.
Yes.
I did my degree was in publishing when I was at university.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
So
And the big
kind
shots, the owners don't read the book. They have underlings that think they know what they're doing, and
yeah.
you know they email you back.
Mm.
No, we don't want the full book. We only want to read 2 pages. Send us 2 pages. You write them
Mhm.
back. You know, you won't understand my book
Yeah.
if I only send you 2 pages. They
Yeah.
write me back. Send me 2 pages.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
they don't know what they're missing.
Anyway, let's
Uh,
move on. That's enough of
yeah,
that.
I'm looking. I'm checking the chat. I've got a couple of questions for Not My Monkeys. I'm going to bring up in a little second. But you did mention Remo, and that was interesting for a couple of reasons for me. One, because I'm a big James Bond fan, and that was directed by Guy Hamilton, who a different experience working with somebody like Guy Hamilton than working in a
It
lower
was
budget film. So, but you were the only person to actually do a stunt on the Statue of Liberty as well, weren't you? Kind of like
Yeah,
So
there's a lot there to
yeah,
to break
so
apart. First of all, like I just mentioned a minute ago, I got Remo Williams after American Ninja One, and when that script came along, I was 2 weeks ending American Ninja One, and I was all set to do American Ninja Two, and the script came along, and I already have done, 5 pictures straight for Canon, and I just wanted to have something different. And when this script came along, and I saw it was Guy Hamilton, first of all, I mean, he did what 7, 8 James Bond pictures. I mean, to work with a legend like that, my God, you know.
mm,
And then it was the Statue of Liberty, working on the real Statue of Liberty. I would be the only stuntman before and after to this day to ever work on the Statue of Liberty, do action on the Statue of Liberty. So it's that. Then working with Joel Grey, which
mm.
was a big child idol of mine, the actor. And then I knew of Fred Ward's work through that astronaut movie that he had done. I can't remember the exact name, but it was a
The, the
wonderful.
right the right stuff.
Yes, some wonderful work, you know, and it had martial arts in it, and they wanted me. I talked to him on the phone. They wanted me to create a new style that they wanted to
Mm,
call Sin and Jew, right? So now I had many things that gave me a desire to move. Well, when I called Sam Furstenberg, he was upset, but he understood because I was 2 weeks not finished on American Ninja One. And then when Menachem found out, he called me in the Philippines, and he was upset. And he was first time he ever yelled at me. You know, you are part of my family. You cannot leave. If you leave, you'll never work for me again. And I go, Menachem, I'm sorry. I love you. I want to continue working with you, but I need a break, and this is an opportunity of a lifetime. You know, I couldn't tell him I wanted to work with Guy Hamilton because, well, I'm Menachem. He would give me that. You also a good stunt coordinator has to have good common sense too.
yeah,
So you got to be careful what you say. But ultimately, he was very upset
yeah.
when we hung up. He wished me his best, and I did the same. But he still said I'll never work for him again. Luckily, 2 years later, he called me up again. So that never came true. He brought me back.
He
Um,
was
but
he was just angry in the
but
moment.
but when I came on Remo on that first day, and I met Guy and Fred and Joel, I tell that story. It's a very funny story. The first day
Mm.
I came on Remo with Joel Grey. The first person I met was Joel Grey. And I tell you that I didn't know it was Joel Grey.
No, because they wouldn't do this today, but he was made up as an
Yeah,
Asian character in the movie.
Asian
Very
characters.
good makeup.
So I thought great makeup. I mean, I was fooled totally, and I don't get fooled easy. And you have to read the story. It's of you'll pee in your pants. The story is so funny, and so light, and so cute. And Joel Grey is so quick. But he had me going, and just to give you a hint out there, um, I thought I was talking to a stand-in that was Chinese, um, or a teacher that was teaching him
Yeah,
Korean. I shouldn't say Chinese, Korean. Sin and Jew, Chinese, Korean. Yeah, I thought it was somebody that they hired, a teacher,
but it
that
was
was teaching him something about the way to speak. So, I won't tell you the rest of the story, but
it
it's a
was
wonderful story.
Joe Grey from Cabaret.
Yes,
Uh,
there are many stories about him. Picture Joel Grey challenging me. He goes, "I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have you teach me a kata, That's a dance, a series of martial art moves all put together. And I'm going to teach you some dance moves that I did in cabaret. So we had a contest right on set. I did
There's,
some moves, some dancing moves for cabaret, which really looked like martial art moves,
yeah,
right? And he was beautiful. He did martial art moves beautiful. You know,
brilliant.
that shows you how much of a gift he is. I always say, as I explain in the book, when I meet a lead actor, I sit him down and I say, "Okay, tell me, what do you do? Do you like to dance? Do you like to
Mhm.
do gymnastics? Do you like to swim? Do you like to play basketball?" You know, I give them these options, and when they tell me, in Joel Gray's case, he was a dancer.
Yeah,
So he knows about timing, coordination, distance, focus, and power of the mind. Those are the 5 things you need to be a great athlete.
yeah,
Him being a professional dancer.
and
So,
he'll pick up
I was on
choreography like
Easy
that
Street.
as well.
Yep, I was on Easy Street because he understood the principles.
Yeah, cool. A question then. I'm guessing it's not Joel Grey, but a question from Not My Monkeys is, who was the most genuinely skilled martial artist that you worked with?
The most genuinely skilled martial artist that for movies
I guess myself, there's probably
or
2 ways to
fight?
answer this. There's probably
Okay, is it
who would be the
off?
best fighter and who would be the best on screen. Like I could, you know,
Okay, so you're asking me because we got to make this clear.
yeah, because
As
it's a
a
distinction.
whole, who is the basic best fight man in the
Yeah,
movies?
I would say in the movies, who do you think is, yeah, the best basic fight man in the movies?
With hands down, no question, Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah,
No question. The best ever. The best ever since movies started. He's got so much talent. He understands fights. He understands how to shoot them, what kind of lenses to use, what kind of moves to use, what kind of facial expressions, body languages to use, depending on the environment, the situation, the scene, the sequence, the story point, the reason, and the why. He
mhm,
understands, and he is the most gifted. And I don't care what anybody says, I've worked with them all. Um, he is all around knowledge in fighting. You know, I'm not saying the best looking. Bruce Lee's the best looking,
mm,
right? But all around movie fighting. I'm not talking about principles.
yeah,
I'm talking about movie
what
fighting
works on
as
screen?
an
Yeah,
art, as an art, as a dance. Sylvester Stallone. There's no doubt.
right. So,
Yes.
Not My Monkeys thought you might have said Chuck. Uh,
No,
in the
fine
real, in the
great if we want to detail, I could detail each one of them.
yeah,
And
because
their strengths and their, and their weaknesses. But we weren't talking about martial artists. We were
no,
talking
we were
about
talking
fights
about
as a
fights.
whole, as an art.
Yeah, then definitely.
Yes,
Still, I can see
Sylvester
that,
Stallone.
especially the work that he does, or the work he did in the Rocky movies is totally different to what he does in other kind of action films. So he understands it, as you say, like an art form.
There's
Yeah,
a lot to understand when it comes to movie fighting, and I explain this a lot to martial artists.
mm.
And it goes in one ear and out the other. You
Well,
could be
you,
the greatest martial artist in the world. Let me finish. You can be the greatest martial artist in the world champion,
yeah,
fight guy, right? But if you don't understand movie fighting, right, it's not going to work.
yeah.
You
That's
can't
leading me
hire
to
your
what I was
friends.
going to
You
ask you.
can't do it yourself because you're a champion. You got to hire a professional who knows what they're doing when it comes
Yeah,
to movie fighting. And these guys make guys, gals, they make so many mistakes. And a lot of times I try to explain to them, hey, you don't have to hire me. Just
mm,
hire somebody of my caliber, my understanding, because
yeah,
I like you as a friend and I want to see you succeed. But it goes in one ear and out the other.
yeah. Because
Because,
I was going to ask you specifically about that
yes,
because you were the fight choreographer on The Quest, the Van Damme
yes,
film, and you had to deal with so many different people on there who probably so many egos as well at that time.
As you read in the book, you see.
Yeah, because I know,
Yeah.
because I know I've read the book. But even without reading the book, you've got people coming in and they're all wanting to show off, and and they're not wanting to get beaten either. They don't want to be the ones that get beaten. But how difficult is it to get an actual fighter to understand the difference between a screen fight and a real fight?
It is key. It is key. And I mentioned before, I'm a stunt coordinator. I'm a stunt man. I'm a second unit director. But what people don't understand, it's important to be somewhat of a psychiatrist. You have to understand everybody is built different. Everybody in the world. So everybody you're dealing with has a different way of going about things. And you have to be ready. And you have to understand, right? And you have to understand not only one way, you have to understand 50 ways sometimes to get through the maze of their brain, depending on the situation. As you read in my book, you know, these guys I worked with on the quest, they were all wonderful people. We became family. They're like, you know, students of mine, movie students of mine. We spend, anywhere from 7, 10, 12 hours together every day, months and months at a time. And so you have to understand their psychic.
Mm.
Each one is different. And you have to go into their psychic and try to manipulate it. And when I say manipulate it, I don't mean it in a cunning or an evil way,
Yeah.
an understanding manipulation to get them to understand and to perform.
How best to use it? Yeah.
Yes. And stunt coordinators, 99.9 stunt coordinators don't understand that.
Yeah.
So that's a feat in itself when you're dealing with hard heads and
Yeah.
champions,
Yeah.
Who don't have the experience in the movie business. As you read in the book, each one was very difficult in one way or another
Yeah. You have
to deal with.
you yeah, yeah. I was so sad to hear you had to dispatch the Scotsman early. Uh,
Yes, yes.
I
But
had to. It
as
made
you
me. It
see,
made me weep a tear.
it wasn't my dealing with. It was all up to Van Damme, you
Yeah.
know, and he would play them as you have to read in the book. But there was a lot of funny business going on there,
Mm. Yeah.
behind my back, in the middle. And Van Damme made it very tough for me because I would put together one fight, right? And he would see another fight, and he would like one guy here and one guy in the other fight, and he'd wanted me to change
Mm.
and to take time to change, to teach this guy this fight and this guy this fight, change over. It takes an awful lot, because you want
Yeah.
to get it programmed,
And you're
So
playing
we would
different
play
styles
games.
off against each other as well. So yeah.
Oh, yes, and as you read in the book, a lot of them, probably 70% of them, never worked in the movies.
Yeah.
So they didn't believe on getting knocked on their ass. In real life, I would never get knocked on my ass. So,
Yeah.
you have to make them understand that this is the movies. And ultimately,
Yeah.
if they don't understand, they're out,
Yeah.
you know.
It's
But
funny you say that.
you don't want to tell them that they're fired,
Yeah.
because you have talent. You know, the guys that Van Damme hired were all wonderful.
Yeah.
They were all wonderful guys, but they all had their own individual way of thinking. And what made it worse, as I say in the book, and I'm giving away a lot of things, you know, Van Damme promised each one of them that they would fight him,
Yeah.
you know, and I never told him otherwise.
That was very bad of Van Damme, I have to say.
Yeah, and
But
they didn't realize what was happening until I started putting together the fight, you know.
yeah, but
And then
there's loads more in here about this. There's loads more about this. You're not giving too much away.
then the volcanoes started to erupt, you know. And that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
But
Talking of volcanoes, what was the name of the
Van Damme, let
chapter?
me also say one thing. There was a big misconception who directed The Quest.
Yeah,
Jean-Claude Van Damme directed
yeah,
The Quest. That's what it says. But, you know, I tell you out there, he did not. You know, the DP directed all the dialogue.
mhm,
The stunt coordinator directed all the action stunts. And I directed all the fights with the
mhm,
DP, right? God bless Jean-Claude. He was not the director. You know, telling props to move uh, a chair here or putting an actor over here instead of here doesn't make you a director.
yeah,
But God bless that DP. He did a wonderful job.
yeah. The film also looks good as well.
Yes.
Um,
I tend to tell the truth.
yeah, like I say, you read this book, guys. You read it with the man's accent. Read it with that
Yeah.
Brooklyn
Yeah.
accent in your head, and indeed, it sounds like the truth to me. But yeah, I was talking about. I can't find the chapter here, but
And here's another wonderful story. You know, in this movie, The Quest, I saw all of Van Damme's movies, and I had a conversation with him at the beginning of the movie. A respectful conversation is we're going to come up with different things for you
mm,
to do, right? Yeah, not the same kicks. We're going to do the same kicks, highlight them, but we're going to also do different kicks, different punches, different blocks, different movements. I want people to see you doing different things because when you see repetitious, you tend to get tired of it, right?
yeah,
So all through the show, that was very difficult to get through to him. And then at the end, when he's fighting Abdel, the lead bad guy, outside when they break open the doors, they fight outside. I went to him, Jean Claude, that is, and I said, I want you to throw a series of punches like nobody's ever thrown before, right? I'm going to make up about 62 punches and you're going to throw it at him nonstop. And I came up with these punches and taught it to him, and he refused. He wouldn't do it up until the day. And then God bless my DP, he convinced him to do it. And what you see in there, you see a series of about 62, 58 or 62
mhm,
punches, depending on, you know, how you call them. Just going mad before he puts them out, before the bad guy falls, and that's it. He
yeah,
wanted to stop at his very famous back flying spinning kick you see, but
yeah.
I
Which
carried it on because these punches, these group of punches happens right after that, right?
yeah,
And when he screamed that after that kick, everybody thought it was over, right? And it went on. He got a standing ovation from all those punches. He
yeah.
called me up and thanked me, you know.
That's
But
cool.
it was it's a nice thing to remember, and it's a when you have a very heavy discussions, arguments with somebody that is a hard head,
Mm,
and they're nervous, and you can't blame them
mm,
to go out of their realm to do something different. You know, sometimes this is why I talk to you about being a psychiatrist. You know, it's very valuable to understand how to get what you want because very few people would have cared.
yeah,
But I had an opportunity to make something different and better. You
indeed.
know, Sometimes you want to make something that you have that is nothing, you know, make it better, make it something.
Yeah.
And that was a great opportunity. I said, "You're going to do these punches. You're going to be a crazy man. The music is going to be built up, and the more punches, the bigger it's going to get until that final punch, and then it's just going to lay flat, and everybody's going to cheer." And that's exactly what happened. First time the quest went out. So
Brilliant.
you have to know how to talk to people and deal with people.
I mean, people can see you on screen with Van Damme as well in Time Cop, because you're actually in Time Cop as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that was years before. You've got a good story about that as well in the book. Which
Yeah, when I came on Quest, the first thing he said to me when he saw me, he goes, "Not you again."
yeah, there was a lot of a good bit of clashing heads
Because
in Time Cop.
as you read in the book, if you read that part, we banged heads then too when I played
Yeah,
that.
no, I've read the whole book.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Some people say he hit me on purpose.
Yeah, and did he? You need to read the book to find out.
You can never be sure, and like I explain in the book, I really had nothing to do with it, but he took it out on me.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And he almost ruined a good fight. Well, he ruined the first part of a great sequence,
yeah,
I thought, because shutting off the lights, the director decided to punish him. And at the very beginning, you see the lights flicker on and off. And I put together like 5 or 6 great Wing Chun blocks and punches, that you can't really see at the very beginning because the lights are going on and off at a
yeah.
dimmer. And that was the director
John
seeking
Himes.
revenge
Yeah,
on Van Damme.
yeah. Well, that's it's here for you to get the full story, guys. When you check out the book, but I can't find it here. But I'm going back again to when you mentioned things going off like a volcano. Can you, off the top of your head, can you remember the name of the chapter about Paul Verhoeven? I found it. Chapter 57, Total Recall, director Paul Verhoeven. What a moron.
Yeah.
Paul Verhoeven is, to me, he's like the quintessential old school crazy director. And I'm not proven wrong by reading your book. He was a bit nuts, wasn't he?
He's nuts, and he's not nuts in a fun way.
No,
he's nuts, unfortunately, in a very sadistic, mean way. Because I've got 2 or 3 stories about his personality in the book, and not a nice guy, very cruel.
It seems that he's just he imagines himself as an artist, and you're just all the paintings he's painting with, and he treats you. That's the feeling I get. He just treats everybody as if they're
big time.
Yeah,
big time.
just something, an object needed to create the movie.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I'm a people watcher, as you see in the book. I always enjoyed. That's why I saw so much. That's why I write so much, because my whole life I was always interested in what these movie people do. Are they regular people? If they're regular people, how do they, what are their actions during the day? Well, let's see. Let's watch them. And, I would watch Arnold and him communicate stuff. And Arnold would just laugh at him. And he would cower, from Arnold and the conversation. And Arnold would make fun of him all the time, and which was very humorous, and you read some incredible stories. You read Behind the Bush story, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Behind the Bush story.
Behind the Bush story. Our audience out there got to figure that one out. Behind the Bush.
Okay, behind the
Yes.
bush. Let's just say Paul Verhoeven, Mexican behind the bush. Uh, Google it. See if
You
you
like
can
the story? Do you like the story
see
with
if you can
Sven
find it.
Thorson in the sushi bar?
Yes, Sven Thorson. He seems like a bit of a chap, bit of a lad.
He is
I'm guessing there's lots of stories about him you haven't told,
he,
because
he
he's
is he is the most fun, the most quick-witted, the bravest, uh, the most daring, verbally,
mm,
um, the most unusual in a good way man I ever met. Um, uh, yeah, second to Arnold.
mm,
You know, they're so much fun to be
yeah,
around. You know, as you read in the book, they kind of made me part of their team. You know, I
yeah,
probably did 8, 9 movies with Arnold,
mm,
and I could have did more if I was available. Thanks to a great friend of mine, Joel Kramer, also who's Arnold's stunt double and stunt coordinator his whole career.
cool.
We're very close friends, but I've been very blessed working with Arnold and Sven a number of times and being part of their team as part of their clique. I played tennis with Arnold and Sven, which was a lot of fun. Smoked cigars with Arnold and Sven. Caused mischief with Arnold and Sven. Wonderful people. The sushi bar thing with Arnold and Sven
Mm,
is a classic story in there. You know, with the guy smoking a cigarette.
mm.
Do you remember that story?
I do, indeed. We'd be
Yeah.
here all night if we went through it. I don't want to give away all the stories in your book,
No, not going to tell you
but
what
yeah,
happened. They have to read. They have to buy the
yeah,
book to find out
yeah,
what happened.
because
But
we've teased a
you know,
few out here
see,
already.
you have a big smile on your face. When I mention something, and
Yeah, because I've
those
read
are
them.
the incredible stories that you don't hear from other books.
Yeah, I
You
can
don't
see
hear.
this making a. I can see this making a pretty good movie myself. This book. I brought up a comment from Ash and Jacko. They're saying the films that he particularly liked and been scared by one of them when he was a kid in particular, Invaders from Mars, because you worked with another great hero of mine, Toby Hooper.
Toby,
Uh, yeah, on a
I've
Canon
worked with a
film.
lot of people, a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Toby was he was an innocent, uh, naive uh, man who was dependent on on a on let's see, was dependent on drugs at the time, and which made him wacko.
Mm,
Uh, I thought the guy was a genius before I worked on
mm,
Invaders from Mars. But I tell a story in the book. I'm talking to Louise Fletcher. She was a character in Invaders from Mars. She won the Academy Award, Cuckoo's Nest,
yeah.
right? I walked over to her because I had to double her. I was when she got ate by the monster. That was me being ate by the monster, doubling her. But I walk over to her after Toby got finished yelling at her. Imagine yelling at a Academy Award winner. Uh, and I walked over to her and I said, Louise, and she goes, yes, Steve, because we had talked and we had lunch a couple of times together on the set. And she goes, I go, Louise. She goes, yes, Steve. She goes, why did you take this picture? And she looked at me and she said, the money, Steve, strictly because of the money. Everybody on that movie made so much money. Poor Menachem, because he wanted an Academy Award.
Mm,
So, he went nuts on the money angle. I mean, the special effects guys, he won an Academy Award. Louise Fletcher. There were so many people. He spent so much money. The things that I saw that I explained in that movie, the incredible waste and the things that happen, some are hysterical, the little people. I tell you stories about the little people. You talk about the Wizard of Oz, you
Yeah,
know,
that's
Invaders from Mars with the little people. They were hysterical.
pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But
Menachem didn't care if they were getting smothered to death. When they first built these monsters, right? These outer space creatures, Menachem was so cheap they didn't have any air passages, and
right,
they were sponge, you know,
just
a
trapped in
foot
there.
thick, you know, and you couldn't no air passages, so you couldn't stay in them longer than 15, 30 seconds, especially if you're a little person.
Mm,
And when you see these monsters from Invaders from Mars, right? It's a stuntman in the suit with a little person on our shoulders, right? So this is what the stuntman had to take, but we had every time we used the monsters, we were only able to use them, the little people in the suit, 30 seconds at a time. So the delays were so tremendous. So they
mm,
had to take some of the suits gradually, switch them out, and put oxygen tanks right by them with hoses, and so we can get air in the suit. And I had little people quit left and right. I would
yeah.
say, no, no, I need you. I need you for tomorrow. No, I'm not coming tomorrow. Well, I'll give you $500 extra. F you, Steve. This ain't worth $500 extra. And they would leave. There are nothing worse than pissing off a little person.
Yeah.
Because first of all, they're very delicate. You know,
Yeah.
and second of all, they're so tired of being abused that they just get sick and tired of it, and they'll snap at you at a second, and they'll
Yeah.
hold their ground. They're tough people, you
Yeah.
know. And
It's a strange but highly entertaining movie, that film.
yes, yes, but
Well,
didn't they should have kept with the first one, the original.
yeah, well, they should have made it in 3D as well. I think that would have been cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the first one, because you think it's going to be 3D because the titles come out like 3D. But yeah, if they'd done it in 3D, that would have been, especially in the technology today, it would look great in
It
3D.
wasn't Cannon's best. That was about the time where Menachem decided he needed an Academy Award.
Mm.
And he tried to start making what he thought was
That was a
and,
strange one to make to try and get an Academy Award.
yeah,
Um,
and he would get these scripts with a promise of huge actors working with him, but they would be written and shot so comical and so poorly, and he put so much money into them that he lost his fortune.
mm,
That was the reason I think why he went bankrupt,
yeah,
was because he stopped making those B movies,
yeah,
and he tried making A movies, and that was his downfall.
yeah. I mean, they were enjoyable, but they were just B movies with more money at the end of the day. I
Yeah,
think
those B
that's
movies,
yeah,
Revenge of the Ninja, Chuck Norris movies, American Ninja, on all those martial art movies, they were made for a million, million and a half, $2 million
yep,
for nothing. Where Invaders from Mars, $78 million. Stallone picture, $125 million. That
yep,
Stallone picture, Cobra. You know, I mean, that's what bankrupted him. Pictures
yep,
like that, and he made 30, 40 of those. Killed him.
definitely.
He started hiring all the big shots. They gave him nothing.
Yeah,
Where all the little people in the B films gave him everything.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
trick. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is to level up, build up, take the people from those movies, and then give them more money to work with. Yeah,
Yep.
should have done that.
Yep.
Shoulda, coulda.
Exactly.
Not my monkeys. I was like, before we go, there's a couple of people I want to talk about, and this is one of them. Naughty Monkey says he's interested to see you doubled for James Woods. You
Ah,
more than doubled for James Woods, so you've got a really quite a good long relationship with James Woods across lots of movies, and you even like there's a movie Cop that I really like. I just recently got it on Blu-ray as
ah,
well. Yeah,
well,
which
he is like a big brother to me. From the first time we had met, he had taken me under his wing. We became very good friends. There's a trust and a bond. You know, part of being a stunt coordinator, a stunt double, is to look after your actor,
mm,
um, care about what happens, whether it has action in it or not. As long as it's involved, as long as you're there, as long as he trusts you with an opinion.
mm,
And he sees your work and what you do. And very few actors um, have a bond with their stunt doubles, like James Woods and myself. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Clint Eastwood. Um, Very few people. You know, they can't roll off my tongue as easy
yeah.
as you see. You know, uh, those kind of people have their stunt guys their whole life. Tom Cruise doesn't. Nicolas Cage doesn't. Sean Penn doesn't. I can go on and on. It
Mm,
takes a special individual that's not insecure, that's not jealous, right? That understands and that appreciates you. And James Woods, like I had mentioned, he's like a big brother to me. We're
mm,
very close. We still speak to this day. We still see each other to this day. He's a very smart man, a genius, literally. I can tell you some incredible stories. Um, an athlete, he's not. God bless. And I'm happy
that's
he's
that's
he will
that's where
not
you come in.
he will not lift his foot unless I'm there. God
Mm,
bless him. And as I tell you again, we go back to the book all the time. There's
yep.
some incredible stories with him. Some
There's
stories you'll laugh, some stories you'll cry, just like I
yeah.
did when they were happening, you
There's
know?
one point where he actually he gets a contract for you just so that you just to cement the fact that you're going to be his guy on every movie from that day on,
Yes.
which was really cool.
Yes.
Good
And
of
then
him to do.
some movies they lied to him and said there's no action. And on the very day, the very moment they try to get him do the action, or they see another stuntman there, he says, "Stop." He
Mhm.
won't roll another piece of film until I'm there.
Yeah,
That's a real friend.
yeah. And there
And the
was a
producers call me
touching
up. Would you please come right now?
there
Yes.
was a really touching story as well. Was you were working with him and John Carpenter on Vampires,
Yes.
uh, and they organised for your kids to come out and stay with you during the shoot, and kind of like treated them like little prince and princesses as a boy and a girl, during the shoot, and kind of like that was really nice. So it's nice
And,
to see. It's nice to read good stuff as well about directors like
yes.
John Carpenter after reading about Paul Verhoeven.
Him and John Carpenter, two beautiful people. John Carpenter, I mean, what a great heart. When you read my book and you read this story, what an incredible thing to do to somebody you don't even really know. I mean, the effort, you know, the effort, you know.
Mm,
And I won't tell the story, but all the way around, you know, I didn't have to worry about my kids. God
yeah,
bless them. Yeah.
they just some of the things that they got the kids that came out, they stayed with you during the shoot. They had the makeup artists make them up. They gave them little directors' chairs with their names on, all that
Yep.
kind of stuff. It's dead cute, dead nice.
Yep.
I'm going to be winding this down soon, so I'm going to quickly lift up the book again, show it to everybody. You can, if it's daunting holding something as heavy as this, you can get it on the Kindle from Amazon too. And like I say, you can put a name in from the 80s or 90s, and it'll probably be in this book. Because the one last person I want to mention, because I do like to just slip in the odd reference to Planet of the Apes every now and then, which is my favourite kind of like film franchise. And you doubled Roddy McDowell as well.
Not on Planet of the Apes.
No, not in Planet of the Apes, but it's close enough for me.
Charlie Chaplin, Charlie Chan.
Charlie Chan, yeah.
Yeah.
What was Roddy McDowell like? Because by all accounts, a nice chap.
Very nice person. You know, I explain in the book. My thrills when I met an actor wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger, wasn't Sylvester Stallone. It was always those old actors, you know, from the 40s and the 50s that I admired and I got excited. And he was one of them, you know. I mean, my God, Flicker, my friend Flicker, you know, all those. I mean, I I I watched on a blackened TV. I'm 69 years old. Blackened TV, 13 stations, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 on black and white, those old movies, you know, with Roddy McDowell, you know. And when I met him, I thought it was magnificent. And he was a class act, typical class act, like a gentleman, and so concerned. And a very smart guy. And you know, then he was very old. I also doubled him on a Fantasy Island TV show from way back, you know. So we knew each other, and he recommended me.
Yeah,
for that,
cool.
You know. So he's just a beautiful person, experienced, and you know, when they say old school, they have a lot of class. In most cases, they really do. You know, you really get right away. You feel that it's old school.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. That's cool.
Yep. But we'll do this again anytime.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads to talk. There's loads to talk about. The link is in the description below. You get it on Amazon. You can get it on a Kindle, and they do. I think it's they're print on demand. And there's some of this tree still left. You can get another book at the tree that they used to print this one.
Every page you won't want to put down. It's exciting. I thank you, Wullie. And I hope everybody out there enjoyed this conversation. I did.
I'm sure. Is there anything? Do you have any other irons in the fire right now? Is there anything coming up that you're working on?
You know, I am retired now. I work now and then when somebody calls me up and they want assistance when it comes to putting together a sequence. I'm also schooling, God bless my son. He's doing fantastic, taking my place. And I've written a script for a movie called Ninja the Resurrection. And I have my majority of my cast now. I have my director. It's going to be shot in Israel, posing as Afghanistan. And it's a great story with wonderful, unusual action. And I'm just waiting, trying to find a money man. You know, finding money these days isn't like the 80s. There's no independent money man. It's all studios. So it's a matter of time. The key is I have a fantastic director that's willing to do it. And he's up and coming. His name is Alon Newman. Alon Newman. And he's an up and coming, wonderful, gifted director who's won many awards now. And come time, which hopefully in the next couple of years, when they come to him and ask him to do a movie, he promises me he's going to do Ninja the Resurrection.
Excellent.
So,
well, let's hope you get funding for that. Hopefully, I'll be sitting here talking to you when that's coming out, and we'll be able to talk about that.
Maybe before that. Call me anytime. There's a lot to that book. You take care of yourself, Wullie.
You too, Stephen. Not my monkeys.
I'm going to look for your cartoon.
Excellent. Not My Monkeys is going to buy your book. So there you go. You made one sale tonight. Okay, so thanks very much, Stephen. And everybody in the chat, thanks for joining us and for asking questions. And please, if you would hit the like, if you do that, I get told that's a good thing for people to do, to hit the like. So if you do that, join me next time that I'm back. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be back soon. But a big thank you to Stephen for coming on tonight.
Thank you, Wullie. One last thing. Go like this to your right. Go like this to the other side. Right. Other side. Ready? Do it again. Do it again. And again, do it 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks for that.
Take care, everybody.
That's
Take care,
great.
Wullie.
Thanks, Stephen.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
And that was that, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. That was Steven Lambert, and it's a very big book. Like I say, I'll be back in a week or two. Don't know what I'll be doing. Me and Stato more likely. And oh yeah, I know we're going to be watching a movie at some point, aren't we? We're going to be watching House and Haunted Hill at some point and doing a wee commentary watching that. That's probably the next thing you're going to see on the channel. So cheers, everybody. Oh, I wish I'd seen that while he was still here. Okay, thanks, everybody. Take care and good night.